Sam First, Durham Public School science coach. And here I am, a beach hat on, standing at the North Carolina coast. And behind me is the Atlantic Ocean. So, I've driven down from Durham, and we all know that the water that, when it rains in Durham, flows to the Atlantic Ocean. But how does it get there? How does it get from Durham to the Atlantic Ocean? Well, where I started, in northern Durham, is the Neuse River drainage basin. So what I'm going to do in this film is I'm going to show you how a drop of rain that falls in Durham, or in the triangle area, in the Neuse River drainage basin, ends up right here in the Atlantic Ocean. The Eno River is a tributary of the Neuse River that flows through Durham. Its headwaters, as seen here, are in western Orange County near the town of Eflin. The first town the Eno goes through is Hillsborough. Here's the Eno River in the town of Hillsborough. You can see it's a little bit bigger than it was. And that's going to be a pattern all along. The further downstream we go, the bigger the river's going to get. Why is that? Well, here it's because water is going into the river from other small tributaries, other small creeks and streams. And so it's getting more and more water in it as it goes downstream. Here we are again on the Eno River, downstream from Hillsborough in Durham. And we're at West Point on the Eno, which is where most people in Durham go to the Eno River at to see it. You notice there's a dam in front of us. That dam was built over 100 years ago to divert some of the water to a mill trace to operate a mill here, which is still operating. And the mill still grinds grain. The Eno River goes all the way through Durham County until it empties into Falls Lake, right around where School of Creative Studies is today. Falls Lake is a man-made lake, which we'll visit next along the Neuse River drainage basin. You're now looking at the dam that was built that dammed up the Neuse River to create Falls Lake. What you can see is at the bottom of the dam there's water coming through. That's what's called a sluiceway. That's the way they control the level of the lake, letting out just enough water into the Neuse River to keep Falls Lake at the level they want it to be. It's rained a lot lately, so they're having to let a lot of water out of the dam. Pretty impressive, isn't it? That's some fast-moving water. Other side of the dam. We have the Neuse River, and you can get a great view of the sluiceway from up here that we saw earlier down at the bottom. Have you ever wondered what happens when there's a flood and the lake has too much water in it and it can't escape through the sluiceway in the dam? Does it just go over the dam? Nope. Every dam has what's called a spillway, which is a channel right next to the dam. And here's the spillway of the Falls Lake Dam. That's where, in case of an emergency, the water can go from Falls Lake into the Neuse River, bypassing the dam. So we finally reached the Neuse River, right below the dam. Here we are at the Neuse and Wake Forest, sort of at its headwaters. And what you can easily see, besides the herons that are all around, is it sure has a lot more water in it downstream than the Eno River did upstream. Now we pick up the Neuse River in Kinston, North Carolina. It looks entirely different now, doesn't it? It's a lot bigger, no more rapids. It's gone from being a Piedmont river to a coastal plain river. It's picked up a lot of water on the way. So we're well on our way to the coast now. Here we are at the Neuse River in New Bern, right before it goes into Pamlico Sound. Look at the size of it, it's huge. How do we explain that? There's really more going on here than just being downstream. It's no longer really much of a river. It's what's called a drowned estuary. And it's no longer freshwater. It's brackish water, which means it's part freshwater, part saltwater. You can catch freshwater fish here. You can also catch saltwater fish here. What's happened is when the last ice age ended, about 10,000 years ago, and the ice melted, sea level began to rise. And the ocean began backing up into the rivers. And even though New Bern is many, many miles from the ocean, the salt water has backed up all the way into here, drowning the valley and filling it in to where it's a mile or more across. Here we are at the entrance to Pamlico Sound. Pamlico Sound is about 20 miles across in its widest part and goes all the way to Ocracoke Island, Kitty Hawk, Cape Hatteras, and finally the Atlantic Ocean. It's one of the largest inland bodies of water in the United States and is one of the final spots where the water from your neighborhood, if you're in the Neuse River Basin, finally empties out into salt water. Well, here we are at the end of the video, exactly where we started. And what you've seen is how, at least in Durham, the water starts off at the Eno River, goes into Falls Lake, then it goes into the Neuse River, and the Neuse River changes, and it goes into Pamlico Sound, and finally the water here ends up in the Atlantic Ocean. And that is what a drainage basin is, and that's the Neuse River drainage basin. So now you know how the water gets from your house here to the beach.